Hi everyone, I hope you are well. This is Julie Evans and I am just going to pop in this week and kind of give you some framework for lesson 12 when you're moving from your orthographic views onto an isometric perspective grid in Illustrator. So let's take a look here. We're in lesson 12 and our outcomes are to interpret those orthographic views into an isometric perspective drawing, and you'll be using a grid that I've provided here, Isometric Grid MPB. It's an Illustrator file, so when you click on it, it may download as a zip, or it may try to open it in preview or something, but you need to save the file and open it in Adobe Illustrator. It's a native AI file. You're going to really be focused on accuracy and precision in these exercises going forward in technical illustration, how lines meet, how shapes are aligned and how they meet or join, and how they align to the grid. So there are a lot of technical directions here and you need to be able to follow them without errors. So go through them several times, and that's why I'm kind of giving you an overview here. Also, you'll be delivering your files. So I'm going to follow the directions. And you will be using your orthographic views that you drew on the graph paper grid in Illustrator in lesson 11. So you are going to use those drawings to inform the perspective drawings, so that you will end up with a rendering of your Lego object. So I am going to download this file, and then I'm going to kind of walk through these instructions with you briefly, and hopefully answer any questions you might have if you just got into this lesson without the video. Alright. Okay, here we are in the isometric grid file. It's the AI file. And at first it looks very overwhelming, but let's take a look at the layers panel over here, and you'll see that we have a basic grid. If I turn that off, it gets a little lighter. We have the detailed grid. If I turn that off, you'll notice that all the vertical lines disappeared. These two are the same, except the detailed has the vertical lines. Isometric is very easy in that anything that's up and down, anything that's vertical, it's perfectly straight up and down. There are no horizontal lines in isometric. You will never see something that looks like a horizon line. Everything's on a 30-degree angle, either a right plane, a left plane, a top plane, or a bottom plane. So we will primarily be working with right, left, and top for our views. So those are the three views that you'll be working with from your 6. So whatever the front is, the side, and the top. And then from that information, you should be able to build a 3-dimensional piece in here on isometric. Now, Illustrator has tools that allow you to do linear perspective with a grid that's built into Illustrator. But isometric is an entirely different grid, and with isometric you can see everything is parallel. So you will never have a converging line. Nothing's going to go back into space. It's going to continue to go parallel to one another. If I have turned off my detailed grid here, and if I keep in my mind every line that goes up is straight, just like this little grid here, and let me zoom in. This is our axis. We have an x-axis. This is like 0 here. Minus x, plus x. We have plus y, minus y, and then we have z. Z is this straight line. So you'll see these are the 3 directions that we have in isometric. These lines are currently lines drawn in Illustrator, and we're going to create guides from them here in a minute. So axis is this little guy. And these are just little clues at the bottom of the page to help you remember, and especially ellipses. Anything that is round, you're never going to have a perfect circle on an isometric grid. This is a top, this is a left, this is a right. They're always the same. They don't taper, they don't get more oval, they don't turn into an egg shape, and they are never perfectly round. I'm going to steal Jody Pellman's here. Thanks, Jody. She had no idea that I was going to steal that, but let's say this is the front, this is the top view, bottom view, side, side. But this little Lego right here, if we look at it on this graph paper, we know that it is 3 squares high, 1, 2, 3, by 4 wide. And so if I go back over here, if I wanted to draw a 3 by 4, we can see this one's 3 by 3. And how do I do that? It's almost like leapfrog. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. You can see the graph or the grid underneath. It's just kind of laid down at an odd angle when we're used to seeing this. This is created with guides. As I said, there's no magic in Illustrator that's going to create this underlying grid. So we're going to use these lines. If I were going to draw that 3 by 4, I'll show you. I'll get my pen tool and I'm going to start on layer 1. I'm going to lock this stuff up. I am going to assume the front is my right plane. You can choose to make it your left plane if you would like. It just depends. Jody's sides are identical, so it really doesn't matter which one I choose, but I'm going to choose the right side. So I will be working on this x-axis. Alright, so I'm going to simply draw it. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to be right here on this intersection. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Click. I'm going to hold the shift key because I'm going straight up. 1, 2, 3. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4. Click. Shift key all the way down. See the little circle indicates that my shape is closed. That right there is this in isometric perspective. Now, of course, this is not a little sheet of paper. It is a Lego. It's a block. So in addition to having just this side, we've got to know, well, how wide is it? How deep is it? And then create that, just like this cube. I just wanted to show you how this aligns to the grid. See how it's pretty perfect. Now I will not promise that every piece of this grid is perfect, but it's pretty darn close. So I'm going to leave those little items there. This is definitely, I'm going to put you up on my layer 1. I'm going to call this my artwork. And what I want to do now is select all of these lines. Now, how do I do that? Well, number 1, this is the basic layer because I trust myself to be able to hold the shift key and make a vertical line. And I'm just going to go from the directions in the lesson. So I've downloaded the file. I'm going to turn my visibility. I'm going to turn the visibility of the details off because I'm going to trust myself to do those vertical lines. I'm going to unlock the basic layer. I'm going to click this button to select everything on that layer. This is why you use layers, kids, because you can just simply click that and it will select everything. You got a lot of control over layers if you use them correctly. So use them. Love them. Okay, anyway, we click this little circle here, and it selected everything on the layer, which are all those 30-degree lines. Now we're going to go up to the View menu, which you may or may not be able to see this, but it's up at the top, View. I want you to go to Guides, and I want you to make guides. And now they're guides. I cannot select them anymore because my guides are locked. See? Because I would have to unlock them. So they're locked. This is good. So now I have some guides to draw from. Under the View menu where I am, I want you to choose Snap to Point. Now what this is going to allow is anything you draw, when you draw again or when you pull another plane, let's say, to it, it will snap to the point. So you want any kind, like your front or right plane and your left plane, to join perfectly. So that will help. So we're snapping to point, and we want to go here and we want to snap to grid should be off, so I'm not going to check that one, because if we are aligning to a grid, it's not talking about this grid. It's talking about the underlying kind of graph paper grid that Adobe Illustrator works from all the time, the default grid. There is no isometric grid underlying for Illustrator, so don't turn that on. It will only mess you up. It will never align to this grid. So we're going to rely on guides. But you can see that the guides are on top of these shapes. If that annoys you, I'm sorry, but it's going to help your artwork be more accurate. You can always do Command semicolon or Control semicolon to turn those guides on and off. Learn your keyboard shortcuts because time is money. I'm just going to draw. Let's see, if I say it's too wide, I'm going to start over here because I don't want to take away this point. You've got to kind of understand how that pen tool works. So you can see with my Smart Guides on, which again, those were under View, Smart Guides are turned on. I generally work with them. You can see intersect. Yay. So I'm going to go over here, anchor. I'm going to go down here, holding the shift. Okay. Go over to intersect and up, holding my shift, guide. Alright. So I've got this little piece that now should snap in. Yep. Come on. Let's zoom in. So I am going to change the color of this. It's very easy to work with these when they're filled. I'd like you to work with these filled with white. I'll just use properties. Anyway, I want your lines to all be 0.5 points. So half a point. Where things meet, if we went inside or outside, we would have some issues. So we want to make sure that the stroke is aligned to center. Corner's fine, the cap is fine. 0.5 is our stroke weight. I want to show you another tip for kind of being precise, and it is to go to your View menu and go to Outline or Command or Control Y. Now, look what happens when you go to Control Y. These guides then become, lines that you can see, but I can see, ooh, there's a little, there's a problem with this. This line is not straight. Ooh, okay, so I am going to take my direct selection tool, and this is an old trick. You want to pull the point way far away and then bring it back. Because if I were to futz around like this and try to do little tiny movements, I would probably spend more time trying to fix those two bumps. I hope you saw them in that piece. Now you are going to have a little bit of overshot. If they're properly aligned, then you should be fine. We've got part of our little Lego here. Then we're going to have to do the top part, and that's it. We've got a right plane, a left plane, and a top plane. And I'll go ahead and do that last one. And again, I'm not going to start right on any of these anchor points because it will disrupt them. But I am going to work from an intersection, anchor, intersection, anchor, intersection. Well, anchor to close my shape. Command Y. Pretty darn good. You just don't want things kind of offshooting. You can see that this looks a little bit thick, but it's nothing to be worried about because everything is right on. If one of these was really off, let me just kind of shift it. If it was like that, you need to fix that. That's not accurate at all. And if you're building from this and anything else touches it, everything is going to be off from there. So even that, yeah, that's not good. You've got to fix it. You got to put it back to where they're all aligned. Then we've got our little Lego that corresponds with this piece. Well, we've got another one just like it. Now, are all of these filled with white? Yes. Are all of these 0.5? Yes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to group those together. And then I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to put it right next to it. And I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to align these because that is all kinds wrong. Okay, and again, I'm going to pull it far back. I'm going to press down. I am going to hold it so I can see the little ghost of it. And then that looks perfectly aligned. I can check it with the Command Y. You're still okay. If it looks just a little bit, just a tiny bit hairy, that's okay. But we don't want anything that's totally off. Okay. So now we have the two Legos. Boom, boom. Okay. If we need to build more and go back, we can certainly do that. And so you will stack. If I needed to stack a shape on top, and now I'm kind of getting away from Jody's design, but I want to show you, I'm going to copy, I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key. And there's another one. So because these planes are filled with white, anything that's underneath them is not going to show, which is exactly what we want. If let's say we had 4 of these in a stack, stacking up. I'm not going to zoom out too much. I'm going to hold down the Option key and I'm going to get right on there. And then I'm going to do Command D to duplicate that action twice. So we have 4 in a row. Now this works well if everything's aligned properly. You can double check it. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. That's how this is going to be built. So if you need to build something with a more wide, then you're going to go back further. Notice we do not have any horizontal lines. There is no place for horizontal lines. We're always going to be looking, primarily, we're always going to be kind of looking down for these especially. And let's say, maybe there was hole inside one of these. This is when you may have to actually just use the line tool. I'm totally making this up right now. We're going to go in here and let's say, alright, I'm on an intersection. Let's say that there is, this is like a donut. There is a hole inside here. This shape. Something wonky right there. Let's go look at it. There you go. They look okay, but I'm going to double check. All right. Okay, so let's say we're looking through this. There's a hole. Then I am going to have to go in with my line tool, like that. I could also have used my pen tool, but that's what that's going to have to look like. And I'm going to turn my guides off. But everything is following this grid. So that's what that looks like if there were a little hole in there. See how the perspective looks strange to us because we are used to seeing things going back into space and lines converging. With this system, it doesn't happen. I do want to show you something because after you get the shape built and you are sure that all of these lines are 0.5, which these are, once you go down past, there's two methods. This is the first method that I recommend, that you just look at these, count. You have the shape or have photos of the shape, so you should be able to 1-to-1. Here's the graph paper. That's 8 across. So when I get over here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 across, 3 up, 1, 2, 3. 2 deep, 1, 2. Okay, so just count and make it match your graph paper grid. The second method I do not recommend, but I know you're going to try it, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you. If I were to take this shape, let's say I copied it from the graph paper grid, I paste it over here. I can say, aha, but I know that Illustrator can go under Effect, 3D, and rotate this, and I can choose Isometric right, and it will be correct. Okay, sure. Alright, notice we've got two boxes here. Let's take this thing. Number one, when you move it around, you don't know what your shape looks like. Plus, it is not aligning properly. You still have to clean it up. But how do you even do that? I've got my direct selection. I can't select that point right now because this has to be broken apart or expanded. So even before I could even work with it, I've got to go to Object, Expand Appearance. But is that all? Or is there more? Let's go to Clipping Mask. If it says Release, then there's a clipping mask on here. So, okay, it put it in an envelope basically. So let's release it. But we can't tell what even was there. What happened? Do we have to now ungroup? Yes, yes we do. Is there another piece? I don't know. So stuff's happening, but we're not really sure, and we're not sure we're going to be able to... Look, now there's 2 anchor points here, not 1. Not the clean build that we did over here. So, I mean, yes, you can get some things done by using that 3D method, but unless you just enjoy tedious, repetitive actions, I would not recommend it. But I put it in there because I know someone's going to try it. And I just want to tell you, it's not going to be fun. It is not going to be fun. That's method 2. Do not recommend. So when I go down in your directions, it says E, add line variants. We're going to assume this is complete. And this is something you've done before. I'm going to group this together. I am also going to make a copy. So I'm just going to go Command C, just in case I mess anything up. That's fine. I'll show you an example here. This is what we're going for. And this piece is by Rebecca Marquez, and these were her orthographic views. This is the black and white isometric with line weight variance. All of the inside stuff is 0.5, and there's an outline that is 2 points. And because this has strokes in it, and I don't know what happened to that little line, but it was there. I must have deleted it by accident. Sorry. They should also be the heavy line. So I'm going to go back to here. You know what I'm going to do now? I am going to fill it all with black. And I'm going to take the strokes off. I'm going to make the strokes none. And now I'm going to try to unite this and see what happens. Silly, silly thing. I'm going to erase these points. Okay, because I just want this outside. And you're like, but it's going to be covered up. Well, yes, I understand that. But still, we've got to work clean, peeps. Alright, so we're going to do 2 points. Okay, I'm going to keep it like it is. We're going to go paste in front. And I'm going to turn off my guides. So we have the 0.5 inside and the larger, it's 2 points, but maybe only 1.5 is showing. But you can see that's a line variance. Okay? The one thing that I would need to add, because this has a hole in it, is to go back in there and ungroup and just grab that little guy. And I don't need to copy or paste, I just need to make that, why not 1? So that works. So we've got 1 if it's got a hole in it, and you can just select the shape, change the line. 2 points if we're putting it behind and keeping that stroke aligned to the center and then pasting this on top. So that's what we're looking for the line variance. If you would like to do the solid color, no stroke, and see what this looks like for you to render the whole thing, notice that she just took her cues from this little cube right here. Dark on the right side, medium on the left, and light on the top. So everything on this side would be your darker color. And like you could, I guess I should turn my things back on. It's really not going to matter at this point. But if I made a little shape, and let's say we're going to go with that color. And then this is going to be, I'm holding down the shift key, make it light, hold down the shift key, and make it kind of medium. I want this a bit lighter. So I've got 3 shades here. So then I could go back in and just with the direct selection, because these are closed shapes. This one's going to be tricky. I'm going to have to make a shape. Which I may or may not do right now. This one and this one, both that color. Take it away now. What did I do wrong? You know? Because I used my eyedropper tool, it picked up the qualities of this swatch. These swatches do not have strokes on them, so I'm going to go back in and add them. So when I go in, I'm just going to select these again, and oh, there are my strokes back. Good, good, good. If this were all one color, this would make sense. Of course, inside here does not yet make sense. What I could do to make that happen, I will go back to it because I want to finish this. Here's my left plane. And these are all the medium. So you can see we've got some light source. I'm going to have to ungroup that. All I want is this front plane and this. And I am going to knock it out. Minus front. Now I can go in and I know this plane is there. I'm going to ungroup that as well. I'm going to fill that with a light color. I also know There may or may not be a shape there, but I can certainly put one in there. Send it to the back. And color it the medium color. Does that make sense? Now I would need to go back in. I wonder if I can do this. I should have copied that piece that had the 1-point line on it. At this point, what I may do just to fix that, let's go ahead and make another layer, lock that layer, zoom in, and I'll just redraw it. Fill it with none. And look at my properties and make sure it is 1 point. Ooh. So, yes. I've got the line variance, I've got that. She actually took all of these off. You can do it either way. I would like you to try doing the coloring. If you leave the lines on, don't leave the lines on, whatever. So play around with it. We do this project every semester in technical. It is a stepping stone on the way to the final project. Your final technical illustration project will be required to be on isometric grid. So these are times to practice, mess up, learn the workflow and learn those keyboard shortcuts and start zooming in and being precise. If you are not using a mouse or a stylus and you're relying on your fingers on a trackpad, this may be very tedious work. It's just tougher to draw with that and use your keyboard shortcuts. So I recommend that you use a mouse because I think you can be more precise unless you are used to working with a stylus and tablet. If you plan on doing this work in the future, I highly recommend that you invest in a mouse. I mean, they're very inexpensive. I have a wireless mouse, works fine. I hope this helps. You're just going to be working through from these drawings. Like I said, you'll only need the side, the top, and the front. And side, top, front to get whatever your shape is. I did not build out Jody's entire shape, but I just wanted to show you how to navigate this grid and how to create guides from it. So you could definitely, if you mess something up here, just download the file again. You're not going to ruin this grid. Just go back and get the file, and I would go ahead and save the file as your name. Go ahead and save it a different name so that if something gets messed up before you convert these to guides, or your guides are not locked and you accidentally move some things around, you can get them back very easily. Okay? Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoy this week, and y'all be safe out there. Thanks.